Yeah, hey everybody, this is Marty Mangello at the United States Presidential Service Center, coming to you from having served 6 presidents now. And Dr. David Evans is doing a fantastic job with the Pick TV network. Be sure to check out all the offerings on Pick TV. Go crazy, hit up about 10, 20, 30, 40 channels. The more support, the more watching, the more it grows, the better it does. And it is doing good, isn't it? It's a great thing that we all need more of in this world. Thank you so much. And don't forget, think Pick TV.
Hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Evans. We're coming from Washington, D.C. with a special segment today with Dr. Rowland. Dr. Rowland, thank you for coming back on Pick TV Network once again.
Thank you for having me. I hope you're doing super fantastic too.
Yes, sir. It's a beautiful day in Washington, D.C. And let's get right into this interview today. Pick TV Network Health Talk. Dr. Rowland, there's so many people today that are going through a crisis, including me, with high blood pressure, cholesterol. Thank God I don't have diabetes. But I wanted to talk about things that we can do to improve our health. And some of the things that we can do is eating healthy foods for a more healthy life. And can you talk about some of the things that we should be eating?
Well, I think the reality is that we're in a very stressful time, endemic infection here in the United States, worldwide. And because of the stress that people are under, it's very important that we think about health as a totality of everything involved in your health, not just the mental part, medical part, but we also need to talk about nutrition. And one of the biggest things that will help people is trying to have a healthy, nice diet, i.e., eating sensible, eating more fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. Trying to maintain a great, healthy attitude, and that goes with a great, healthy diet and stuff. And so people need to make sure that they're doing the best thing when it comes to food and helping themselves because of the stress we have. We still have the problems of high cholesterol. We still have the problems of hypertension and stuff. And that's all kind of diet related and stuff. So nutrition is very important. And the people need to navigate and try to set up that healthy lifestyle to have a healthy life.
That's so important today. When I changed my diet, I started drinking more water. I stopped drinking sodas. I was addicted to fruit punch. It's my favorite drink. I had to get my fruit punch. Back in the day, it was straight soda. But now today has so much corn syrup, high fructose, and things that are harming our bodies. And I'm thinking about what am I going to eat today, but what's eating me? So, Doc, when we talk about foods like, let's talk about a jump starting your day with vitamin C and vitamin D and why it's so important, especially for African Americans during the winter time.
Well, I think it's important that all individuals, and especially African Americans, should be taking a multivitamin every day. And that multivitamin has to have vitamin C and vitamin D. And I also recommend that for African Americans or people of color, that they should take an extra vitamin D or go down and get your what we call your vitamin D level. because one of the things that we have a hard time is, as a minority people of color, we have a hard time generating vitamin D because of wintertime. And so one of the things that we have and found out that a lot of people of skin color have low deficiency of vitamin D. And so one of the best things that you can do is go get start taking vitamin D as a supplement. That will help improve your immune system, strengthen your bones, give you a better outlook on life. So one of the most important vitamins that I recommend for individuals is taking a vitamin D every day.
Wow, yes, sir. It's so important. I did take my vitamin D level, and it was low. I
Okay.
had to go to the doctor, and he improved it. Dr. Well, I want you to talk about a little bit about a lot of people are nervous, especially men. I don't want to get a colonoscopy. I don't want nobody checking on the back door. You know, I don't want nobody going. But why is it so important for us, especially as we get older, to get checked out?
Well, I mean, it comes to, at the end of the day, what's going to give somebody a great life, and especially when it comes to African Americans, that we have to really invest into the system and let the system do what it needs to do. I.e., you need to have annual health screenings. Period. You got to have colonoscopies and make sure that you don't end up with colon cancer, because colon cancer can be very lethal. And it could be a lot of problems with that. So colonoscopies are very important. Even for females, getting a Papa Nicolau, the Pap smear every year to rule out uterine cancer and stuff. You know, your normal screenings, females need to get a mammogram once a year to make sure they don't have early stage breast cancer. So all these modalities, getting your basic screening health exams is important. I.e., know what your weight is. Getting your weight is very important. As we can go down the line of all the positive things that healthcare can bring to an individual's life, colonoscopy being one, vaccination is another one, diet control is another one, nutrition control is another one, the basic pap smear and, breast exams for females. All these basic screening stuff, healthcare for minorities is very important. And sometimes we don't use the system because we're scared of the system. We still have a lot of what we call hesitancy of the medical system because of what's happened to African Americans in the United States for the last 400 years. So we have to have more, people like me that look like us going into the science and medicine to be able to provide health care for the millions and millions of African Americans in the United States and worldwide.
That's so important for us to get the education. I believe education is the process of learning. And when we still learning, we can take action on living a full life. My mother passed away 1997 with an aneurysm. Doctor, now we have 5 brothers, 5 sisters and 4 brothers, and my sister Brenda passed away in the midst of COVID. Doc, whenever we go to the doctor, they always ask us about your family history.
Right.
Let's talk about that, Doc, for a second.
One of the most important thing in anybody's health management is that you have to understand what a person's background is. And what we find out about backgrounds is understanding the health of your grandparents, understanding the health of your mom and dad. We know for a fact that if your grandparents have a diabetes or high blood pressure, you have a genetic marker in you that can make you also have diabetes or high blood pressure. So at the end of the day, your family history is important to guide you into the future and stuff. And if you know that you have a history or your grandmother had an aneurysm, a high blood pressure or stroke, that means you can fall in that category too. And so what you need to do is look at your past, your family history, to make sure that you have great health care for the future, and making sure that you folks understand the reality, folks, is that you are a reflection of the past. If you understand the high blood pressure, diabetes runs in your family, you need to do the proper things, because that means you have the gene, and that gene can be expressed through environmental changes. It could be expressed to, weight gain. And then let me give folks an example of this. Every one of us in the world has a gene for diabetes, period, end of story. Some people become diabetic, some people don't become diabetic. But at the end of the day, what turns that gene on? In the most part, when we look at diabetes as an example, you have diabetes 1, diabetes 2. Diabetic 1s are insulin dependent. Diabetic 2 are usually adult onset from weight gain. And so if you know that you have the history of diabetes in your family and you're getting older and you're gaining weight, that would turn on that gene for you to become a diabetic. So the proper thing is that making sure that you maintain your weight as an example. So knowing your history is very, very important.
Thank you, Dr. Rowland. You're watching the special segment today in PIC TV Network Health Talk, and we have Dr. Lane Rowland. He's been on many, many times, different segments on our show, and he's certified, qualified. He is definitely has 6 degrees in what he does to help people. Doc, I want to talk about for a minute the African American community again. A lot of times when we hear diagnosis, we always hear the African American community is high risk in this, high risk. Is that a myth, Doc, or is that true?
No, it's true, because certain diseases affected different demographics. For example, thalassemias affects Mediterranean people. And so each demographic has a particular disease that affects them. And for African Americans, the most important disease that affects us a lot is high blood pressure, i.e., diabetes and stuff. So that is the reality in that scope of that realm that is very, very important that people understand the history of your life.
Yeah, that's very important. I've been hearing that all my life. When I go to the doctor, I'm a member of GW, where the president goes. My Dr. Brad Moore has been my primary physician for the last 30 years. But I want to go back in time for a minute, Doc, and talk about when I was growing up, before my parents passed away. There was a Dr. Randall. All of us in the community, we went to see Dr. Randall. He was the one in the million. Everybody on Georgia Avenue, Spring Road. Talk about that one doctor, the Dr. Randall. He treated our whole family back in the day in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, we had a doctor when I was a kid in Ettrick, Virginia, named Dr. Barnwell, and he was the only Black physician we ever knew in my lifetime at that time. And so it's always important that we have to remember that sometimes we have to have that what I call the big papa or the big mama doctor that everybody loves. And so that's why it's so important when we talk about community health and understanding the population, that people kind of reflect the community they come from. So it's very important to have more doctors and more nurses and more scientists of color, because it needs to be a reflection of the population. And only way, what I've learned in medicine business, folks, you relate to your culture a lot better than you relate to other cultures, even though we have the ability to adapt and treat other cultures. But Big Mama feels good talking to somebody that looks like Big Mama. And that's so important. So we have to make sure that we have that steady individual in a community that represent the community, providing health care for that community, and especially for African Americans.
Doc, I want to talk about for a minute before we go to a commercial break, how important it is for people from a psychological aspect when they get sick. Do we overgeneralize this? Because when I went to the doctor one time, he was saying, "Don't look for nothing that's not there." That's what doctor, because my back was hurting, my leg was hurting, my arm was hurting, and I didn't want to take all of this Tylenol and Bufferins and Anacin. And I want to say one more thing before we get to that aspect. He took me off of the 800 milligram of the ibuprofen or the Tylenol. He said, "Don't take that no more." He said, 1 year he told me it's okay, prescribed it. Next year he said, "Take it off, throw that stuff away." Talk about that, Doc.
Well, it's very important that you try to have the best health care you can. And if you can eliminate taking medications, you do it. If you're sick and there's a medication that can keep your blood pressure down, you take it. And that's the problem that people have. There's a reason why science has advanced medicine over the last 100 years, is that we have medications that can keep people's blood pressure down, because having a stroke is a very, very devastating type of event. And if you can keep your blood pressure down, good diet, you can do that. So medicines and stuff can be a windfall for the individual community. And the most important thing is that individuals have to have the access to it. And if they don't have access, they need to go look for that access, because modern medicine is good. Modern medicine has a prolonged life over the last 100 years and stuff. And so we want people to be healthy. We want people to benefit from the science, to have a long, healthy life. And so that is the reality.
Yeah, Doc, my mother-in-law, she's in Charlotte, North Carolina, Mother Yvonne Edwards. She's probably watching right now. She's 89 years old. She takes her medicine every day. She don't miss. She gets her rest. Doc, and when she went to North Carolina, she left DC and aged backwards. I was like, Mom, where you going? Where you going? She aged backwards. My brother-in-law Clifton is taking care of her, and him and his wife. And I want to talk when we're talking about consistently taking your medicine, not missing. A lot of people, I'm going cold turkey. I'm not going to do this no more. And they put it in the name of God too. God told me to stop taking my medicine. Doctor, I want to go ahead, Doc.
I was saying, well, God intended us to be smart and learn knowledge. And part of God's creation is the ability of science. And so that is a misnomer where, God's going to fix that. God give you the ability to take medications that keep you from having high blood pressure, keep you from having diabetes or sugar out of control. So people have to kind of believe in the system, but they have to also be informed. They have to be educated. They have to know if they're taking this blood pressure medication, what is the upside to taking that medication? What is the downside of taking that medication? But at the end of the day, science is made for us. It's made life better for millions and millions of people worldwide.
Yeah, and that's so true, Doc, because the doctor prescribed me with my cholesterol medicine, and I was consistently, my numbers dropped down. He said, I might even take you off of this stuff. You're doing so good. And I think we have to do our part too, Doc. When you prescribe something to us to better our health, we have to do our part.
Oh, absolutely. And we, as a physician, I always tell you, you guys make my job harder, or you can make my job better. But at the end of the day, it's the patient's decision, and having informed consent about what the treatment is very important. And you folks need to be just as more versed in the information than I do, because if you understand the goals, the outcomes of taking a medication or having a surgery, something like that, it makes the whole system better. And on the mental aspects of it, it goes back to healthy lifestyle, healthy attitude, being positive, trying to look for the beauty in life and not looking for the negative.
That's amazing. Folks, you're watching a special presentation, PIC TV Network Health Talk. We have Dr. Lane Rollins. He's on today. He did many segments on PIC TV Network. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and you can chat in. We see your chats coming in right now. We'll be right back after this. Don't touch that dial. You're watching the PIC TV Network. Hello, everybody. We're right back here again, PIC TV Network, with the great Dr. Lane Rollins here on today. Talking about a variety of subjects on health today, health talk. Doc, when I stopped drinking sodas, I noticed that my whole body, I started drinking more water. I haven't drank sodas in 7 years. my whole body begins to change. My energy level came up, my sugar level came down. It just changed my whole everything.
Well, the reality is that probably one of the worst things in the American diet has been sodas. Sodas full of sugar, and that is really kind of driven the diabetic epidemic pandemic worldwide. And so, when you decrease the amount of soda you're taking, you decrease the amount of sugar, you decrease the amount of sodium, etc. So, decreasing your intake of sodas every day is going to make a significant change in your life. It's probably one of the best things out of a diet that people need to do. People need to drink more water and stuff. Even people drinking orange juice on a regular basis can be very detrimental. Like you said earlier, you just like drinking fruit punch. Who doesn't like fruit punch because of the sugar? It's awesome, but it's also can be detrimental and stuff. So one of the things I can recommend for your audience is on this particular podcast is that decrease the amount of sodas you're taking. Even doing diet sodas is still not good for you.
I want to just jump into another subject. Yesterday, we were talking about the pandemic, and we were talking. You were in the House of Creativity with Delano and Monique, and you were talking about riding on airplanes and being very, very cautious about using the restroom on airplanes, wiping things down, still wearing our masks, our gloves. Why is this so important? Because our audience is watching and people are traveling. They're just using the bathroom. They're not even wiping off the toilets and stuff. And kids are running around. Can you talk about those terms?
The reality is that when you look at an airplane or our society, when we think about exposure to diseases, you can imagine being on an airplane and somebody coughs. Well, if somebody coughs on an airplane, well, everybody can be infected on an airplane within probably 5 to 10 seconds. I mean, that is rapid. And we look at a type of environment like that, a airline environment on an airline is a pretty nasty environment. So people need to understand as you're working and living in this public arena, you have to protect yourself. You have to have situational awareness. You have to create that bubble, i.e., if you're on an airplane, you better wear a mask. If you're touching things like an ATM machine at a bank, you need to make sure you're sterilizing your hands and stuff. Or when you do touch something in the public space that you are, cleaning your hands. And this is the reality. This is a new world that we live in. And so people need to create that bubble. Even if you're in an office and stuff like that, you got 25 employees there, the reality is that you need to make sure you have some type of, what is the air filtration unit? Because if somebody coughs, the virus is in the air. We've shown that you can be infected within 3 seconds with somebody coughing, and that is the reality. So making sure that people have the proper technology, the proper, equipment to make sure they can function in the world is very important. We talk about air sanitizer. B, we talk about hand, solutions to sanitize your hands. We're talking about, the other thing is spraying down your seats on an airplane. Doing these small little things is going to be the most important concept that I want the people to understand is that what we're trying to do when you wear a mask is decrease the amount of exposure you have. We call it the solution to pollution is dilution. If I have a mask on, somebody coughs, I'm going to have a decrease of possibility of getting infected versus not having a mask. If I take my hands and I wash my hands, I decrease the amount of viruses, bacteria on my hand, which should decrease the amount of chances of me getting an infection.
Doc, that was major. I want to just talk about again. You hit on a very serious subject yesterday when we were in the House of Creativity about the bathroom and wiping down the toilet. Many people just go to the restroom, and even me in the past, before I had knowledge, would just sit down on the toilet, put my hands down there to cover it. But why, as we grow today, and I'm talking about when I was a kid, I did that. But as an adult, and we have to teach and train our minds today, when we go to the bathroom, you said, seal it up.
You have
wipe
to.
it off.
Right. Most people don't realize that when you flush that toilet and that lid's open, that becomes fecal aerolized viruses, bacteria from the feces. It's going all over the bathroom. Especially you can imagine a public bathroom example at Chicago Airport, where they have no lids, and this is commercial flushing these toilet. You have viruses and bacteria all over the place. So it's very important that people need to understand that your bathroom is a very significant area of infection. So you need to make sure that you're controlling that. You need to make sure that you're cleaning that bathroom And that is our new reality. Now we know for a fact monkeypox viruses are found on toilet seats. So you can imagine the concentration of viruses that are on a toilet seat, where people sitting in going to Denny's and going to the bathroom and sitting on a toilet seat. You can get monkeypox, you can get coronavirus, you can get polio. And so this is the reality why bathrooms and understanding public spaces, especially bathroom, and having situational awareness and controlling the content in that bathroom using all different technologies that you can muster, from air sanitizer to sterilizing that bathroom, is so important as we move into the future.
Yeah, Doc, that's so important for everybody to realize today, especially our kids. Teaching them and training them now. Wipe that toilet off, set that lid up. This is really big because we just go through our day, Doc, running in and running out. We're moving so fast. Many restaurants, I go to the bathroom first, and if the bathroom's not clean, I walk out.
You need to.
Yeah, I don't even eat there. If the bathroom is not kept up, I don't go. I walk right out. And speaking on that subject for a minute, Doc, let's talk about foods, open air foods. And I'm not going to name certain restaurants because of public reasons. But we know certain foods are staying out open air all day long. They cook them in the morning, the air is there, people walking around. We're going into the cold season, the flu season. The winter is coming, Doc. Can you educate our audience about if you sense something is not right with that food? I don't care how much you pay for it. If it don't smell right, throw it away. I had some chicken last night. I threw it away, Doc. I didn't want to put it in my body.
Well, as the reality is that you shouldn't have food sitting out in the first place. But in American society, we can talk about different buffet places, from the Ponderosa to different places that have buffets, even at casinos here in Las Vegas or worldwide. When you have food sitting out there all day, you have to make sure that you have a very hearty infectious disease control program, i.e., are there flies flying around? What is the time that the food can sit out there? Because we know over time, for example, rice will become contaminated with a bacterial, and it can cause you major sickness and stuff. So we have a lot of gastrointestinal diseases and viral infection from people eating rice that's old. That's been there. So you got to make sure where you're eating at, folks. The buffets, and I recommend not eating at buffets because that is a source of infection. So you can imagine an old guy who stretches himself and he wants to get some of the bacon, and he reaches and takes the tong and gets his bacon and put them on a plate. And here you come along and you grab that same prong and your hand's contaminated. Or he puts the bacon back in there after he tastes it. So you have to make sure that you understand the environment that you're eating in, because that can be very detrimental to your health.
Doug, and I don't mean to get too deep into the gross aspect, but I did go to a restaurant to get something to eat, or a bakery, and I saw a fly in there, innocent little fly flying on it, and I just say, man, you know what? I'm not going to eat there. But what about the person who did? Talk about that fly and what that could occur and what that could happen.
One of the realities is that when we talk about transmission of diseases, flies are notorious for committing diseases and transmitting diseases for millenniums. And a fly lands and lives in feces. They go in there, they eat the feces, they land on your food, and they regurgitate. They vomit on your potato salad. They vomit on the table. They vomit wherever they touch. And that is a source of viruses and bacteria. So any place that has any flies, my recommendation is to get up and walk out. And that is why it's so important for businesses to make sure they have a very excellent infectious disease control program, i.e., they have things that can kill flies, making sure that there's no rats in the restaurant. They need to make sure that when it comes to that type of environment, especially when people are eating foods, etc., making sure they have proper sanitation control.
You're the best, man. Folks, we have the best on Pick TV Network. There was a restaurant I love to eat at all the time, Doc. Hawks on the Hill up the street from my house. Good food at that time, but the inspector came in and shut him down. He shut him down because he found that there was some mice or rats in there eating stuff. Doc, talk about, again, this is very important for our audience to know. looking at your food before you're eating. And I believe I've grown to the place that I just don't eat food. I realize what's eating me. Because once I consume something, food is like a relationship. It's like we have a love relationship. Yeah, I'm not making love, Doc. I'm just having a relationship with this, this food every day. I'm hanging with you, we eating, and we hanging, and consuming. But how important for us to do some research? We can go online. We can look at the health report at this location. Because it's very important, Doc, for all of us who are watching this and listening to you to understand when we eat at these restaurants and places, we can do some research before we even go.
Oh, absolutely. And like one of my biggest things I tell people, like you said earlier, is when you go to a restaurant, go see what the bathroom looks like. If they have soap, water, and because if there's no soap or water in there or paper towels, it tells you that how the staff is cleaning themselves, and that means that can be a transmission of infection to you. So at the end of the day, like you said, Doc, it's just common sense type of stuff, and that's the reality.
And that's so true. I love talking to you because I can be real, I can be candid. I was at a restaurant downtown Washington. Me and my wife was together, and I went in there and ordered some food, and one of the chefs came in. It's the men's bathroom. We were good. But I noticed after he used the stall, he walked right out. He didn't wash his hands, Doc.
Yeah, that's very common, and that's why it's so important that you make sure that these restaurants that you're eating at, that you understand what the personnel are doing, how they wash their hands, how they're sterilizing their menus, how they wiping their tables, are they wearing gloves when they're cooking your food. You need to make sure that when you go in these restaurants, you need to check yourself very carefully because you can be infected in these places like that. It's so important to make sure that you guys understand that you really do control your environment. If you go to a restaurant and it doesn't look good, you need to walk out. If you're going to go to a restaurant, find out what their ventilation system is. How do they clean their menus? All these little small things add up to a big thing that will save your life.
Doc, before we close out, we got another segment for you to come back on. I noticed the last time I got sick was about 3 years ago. I was pumping gas, and somebody was pumping gas, and I noticed as soon as I finished squeezing, this was before COVID, as soon as I pumped that gas, I noticed in my car, I start coughing or something.
Right.
Was there something on that Was there something on that pump, Doc, that transferred to me?
Could be. That could be, that's the reality. Something could have transferred to you and stuff like that. I mean, anything you touch in the environment is fair game. That's why you always make sure if you're touching a gas pump handle, you have something to protect your hands. It might be wearing gloves. If you're touching an ATM machine, making sure you have something to touch that ATM machine with and not your fingers. But if you do use your fingers, you should automatically sterilize your hands.
Yeah, Doc, because, I don't know, that person could have sneezed, achoo, and then he pumping gas, and then that transfers right over to me or anybody else. So everybody listen to what the doctor's saying today. Please continue to do safety cautions. We're going into the winter season, we're going into the holiday season, but we want to be safe. Doc, a lot of times when I go to the restaurant, I don't even use their utensils. I go get a plastic fork. I get something and open it myself. People laugh at me. They say, "Why are you doing that, man?" No, I'm trying to protect myself.
Yeah, and that's smart. And I think anybody should be proactive and stuff. And that goes, once again, understanding what type of restaurant it is. If they do have disposable utensils, that might be the best thing because you don't know how they're washing their dishes back there. Are they using using water out of the sink? Are they using the same water? Are they using hot water? So it's very important that people just be aware of the situation and always think outside the box.
Doc, I gotta go, but I notice the dog always smell his food before he eat it, Doc. A dog always smell his food before he eats it, But we talk about this in the next segment, especially in the African American areas. Food filled with salt, filled with sugar. I'm just everywhere you go, fried food, and when you go into certain markets, you got the tater chips up there first. You got the candy up there first.
Right.
And it's targeted at us. Well, whoever loves that, who is addicted to that. But it's so important for us to understand, Doc, how this system is set up.
Well, the system is set up to for your taste buds, and so people like salt, so potato chips, Doritos, etc. And people need to realize if you overtake intake of salt or sodium, you can increase your blood pressure, because wherever sodium goes, water goes. So if you're taking in more sodium, you're going to retain more water, which will give you a higher blood pressure. So that's the reality behind that. So decrease your salt intake or the food that you eat. You can decrease your blood pressure and also decrease the amount of water you're holding. That will also elevate your high blood pressure too.
Folks, you heard it today with Dr. Lane. It's on PIC TV Network. Special show today, Health Talk with Dr. Lane. He's on every week with us, and we want to send a shout out to everybody watching, especially to Michelle Cox. We miss you. She'll be back soon. And Doc, when we come back next time, I want to talk about alkaline water. There's so many waters on the market today. And then what is the best water to drink? You know, a lot of times people just buying stuff and don't know what's is good, what's bad, and what's helping us and what's hurting us.
Well, I look forward to next week, and we'll talk about alkaline water. We'll talk about water itself. You know, we'll talk about understanding your municipality, understanding what your water content of E. coli viruses and stuff, because I think that's very important that people understand what their water quality is in their local communities. Because now we know, for example, in Jackson, Mississippi, the water is contaminated, brown, coming into people's homes and stuff. This water is contaminated with feces, polio, monkeypox, coronavirus. So water is going to be a very important subject, and I look forward to coming back next week and talking about water.
Thank you, everybody. You heard from the doctor himself on the PIC TV Network, everybody. Thank you for your time, doctor. I know you're busy. You're traveling on the road. We're praying for you, man. You stay safe. We see you next time on PIC TV.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, hey everybody, this is Marty Mangello at the United States Presidential Service Center, coming to you from having served 6 presidents now, and Dr. David Evans is doing a fantastic job with the PIC TV network. Be sure to check out all the offerings on PIC TV. Go crazy, you know, hit up about 10, 20, 30, 40 channels. The more support, the more watching, the more it grows, the better it does. And it is doing good, isn't it? It's a great thing that we all need more of in this world.
They say your eyes are the windows to the soul. They're also the windows to your health, because they let eye doctors see what's going on inside. Think about this. A comprehensive eye exam can be an early detector of serious health problems, like high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Shouldn't you see your eye doctor yearly? Go to thinkaboutyoureyes.com to learn more and for a list of local eye doctors. It could help save more than your vision.
Every time a patient is diagnosed with colon cancer, the first question is, am I going to survive this? So let's take a moment and talk about the probability of cure in this disease. Using multimodality treatment, meaning combination of surgery with and without radiation and chemotherapy, we have significantly improved the outcomes and survival of patients with colon cancer through all the stages from 1 to 4. Unfortunately, whether a patient will be cured or not is still determined at the stage they were diagnosed with. The more advanced the tumor, the lower the likelihood of cure. A stage 1 tumor that has not even penetrated through the wall of the colon can expect it to be cured in 93% or more percent of the time. Once the tumor starts to grow through the wall, things become more complicated because it's not only the size of the tumor at that point, but also how aggressive it is, what the different biology is. And there's a lot of research in trying to determine today the risk groups and the genetic factors that determine how aggressive a tumor is. But for now, we have to go by what we have, and this is the size of the tumor and whether lymph nodes are involved or other organs are involved. So a stage 2 tumor, which would mean a tumor through the wall but not in the lymph nodes yet, can expect to be cured in anywhere between 75 to 85% of the time. And this is because there are small tumor cells that have already left that we might not see originally, so the tumor was a higher stage, or it's just a more aggressive tumor. In stage 3 disease, meaning the tumor has spread to the lymph nodes already, unfortunately these numbers drop significantly. Stage 3C, meaning more than 7 lymph nodes or very advanced primary tumor, the cure rates drop to 44% rate if you look at the patient populations. In stage 4 disease, the 5-year survival rate is quoted as around 8%, which means there is a subset that still might be cured using optimal treatment. All of these numbers are historical, and we hope that in 2013, combining chemotherapy in early stage disease, we might be able to achieve better results.
Hello, everybody. You made it to the end of another show on the PIC TV network, and I want to thank you for your time. My name is David Evans, your president of the PIC TV network. We're excited about everything that's transpiring on PIC TV network. And what we want you to do is to support the network by going to this QR code right above you. This QR code right there allows you to support the network and to support our shows and programs on the PIC TV network. We need everybody, especially during this season of giving and sharing and helping folk. We have something called PIC TV Network Project Smiles, where we give back and help people. And we're excited about adopting a beautiful family in Beaumont, Texas. She's going to be coming on real soon, and we're giving her some help with her kids. She's 22 years old with 2 twins, and we're just excited about adopting her with PIC TV Network over the holidays. And others who are watching right now, you know someone may need some toys for the kids. We're going to be giving away toys, helping people with a little cash app or a gift card, and just trying to put a smile on people's faces on the PIC TV network. So go to the QR code right above me. Scan it right now. Let's help somebody during the holiday season with PIC TV Network Project Smiles. Again, thank you for your time. And everybody right now, be safe, be blessed, and thank you for watching our programs on the PIC TV network. Your support means so much to us because we only here because of good people like you.
Hi, how are you? This is Patty with the PIC TV network. And I want to ask you a question. Do you believe in miracles? I do. And guess what? so does Project Smiles. We have created so many miracles last year and continue to create miracles as the season comes around with the holidays. We are asking you to please give a gift from the heart, only from the heart, and pay it forward with a miracle. I do want to share a testimony of my miracle. I received a car. I received a car. It was a gift. It was a great gift. It was so well received. And my friend, it wasn't a family member, it was a friend who was so generous that gave it to me. She represents gratitude. She's a person of gratitude, and she reminds me to be grateful. She sees the good in paying it forward, and she also is always giving straight from her heart. So again, I just want to share that miracles happen every day, and you could be a part of that. You could not only be a receiver of a miracle like me, but also be a giver of a miracle as well as me. Here at the PIC TV Network, we're all about love and compassion and helping each other rise up. So again, Project Smiles for the PIC TV Network. Have an amazing day.